Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new series on the channel here. As you can tell by the title, it's called Was It a Good Race? Basically, we're going to be talking about the real life NASCAR Cup Series races with the gameplay, of course, here of NASCAR Heat 4 with the winner of the real race in the background playing as I talk about what happened in the real race. Obviously, this time around the Daytona 500, and we want to start this off with obviously saying that we hope the best for Ryan Newman and hope to see some good progress. Obviously, a terrible crash last night at Daytona. Very unfortunate to watch, as I mean, obviously, I'm just a spectator of the sport, and that shook me up even seeing that crash happen live. I didn't even know who won the Daytona 500 at first because I was only watching Ryan's car at the time. I thought Blaney had won, but obviously that was not the case. It was Denny Hamlin getting his third Daytona 500 and second in a row. But like I said, we just want to wish the best for Ryan Newman, his family, and his peers. And obviously we got at least some decent news last night, knowing that Newman had first of all survived the crash, because when I saw it and just the way everything was playing out, I thought it was going to be really bad news that came out. So the fact that he survived already was a miracle in my opinion. And then obviously some news came out a little bit earlier today that he was actually alert or awake and talking. So I'm just hoping for the best. I would like to know what kind of injuries he has to maybe give us a timeline of kind of what's going to happen with him. And I hope we see him in a car soon, within maybe hopefully 4 or 5 months. I definitely think he's going to be out for the majority of the season, or at least probably around half the season or so. So unfortunate, but obviously just kind of the title of this video, we're going to try and get a positive outlook here today as of was it a good race. I want to talk about in this series every week or every race week. Basically, was the Cup Series race good? Obviously, the Daytona 500, first race of the season. Speed weeks, obviously, the week before with the Clash, the duels, and the Clash was kind of boring, to be completely honest, until the last 10 or so laps, because before then everyone was just kind of running in a single file line. Duel 1 on Thursday night was kind of boring a little bit here and there, but the racing picked up towards the end, got better. I thought the second duel was actually pretty entertaining. And then we come through obviously on to Sunday here for the Daytona 500. It obviously we got I think 15-20 laps completed, and then they obviously had the rain delay. And I will say the first 20 laps on Sunday was not very good at all. I mean, they basically got going. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the pole. I think it was Alex Bowman second, and they got up in that single file lane around. I think they're running around the top. And they just kind of did that for the whole time that they were going on Sunday. So certainly wasn't a fan of the first 20 or so laps, but obviously you can't really blame the drivers trying to make it to the end of the race without any issues. So it was pretty laid back there on Sunday, and then the rain came. It got delayed until Monday, and I was kind of expecting the same on Monday for the majority of the race. I was figuring, well, they did that on Sunday. They're probably just going to ride around in a line for the majority of the race on Monday until probably the last 30 to 50 laps or so. But to my surprise, on Monday the racing was actually very solid. I was actually pleasantly surprised and pleased with what we saw with the racing yesterday on Monday night. Obviously they got going. They were maybe single file, not often at all. It was mostly side-by-side racing, mostly two lanes. There's some three-wide racing here and there, obviously, but a lot of it was just kind of just the two lanes going. And that first stage was pretty good. Obviously, William Byron probably would beg to differ on how that first stage went. Obviously, he was one of the first notables out of that race, as he got hooked down the back straightaway by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Shocker there that it was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. who ended up turning someone. Obviously, I think Stenhouse obviously had no ill intent. He did not want to take up William Byron, but I definitely saw William's view on it. He said that there was no need to be so aggressive at that point in the race. I do agree with William Byron on that. So Stenhouse probably could have been a little more laid back there, and unfortunately for William Byron, he started off the duels with the victory, and then he would get crashed out of the Daytona 500. So that was kind of the first incident of the day, and then stage 2, I believe we had a little small incident in that stage, but stage 2 was kind of similar to stage 1. I mean, this racing was still pretty solid. I was pretty satisfied with what we had, and certainly I think this was actually a really good Daytona 500 other than what happened at the end of the race. But kind of like I said, stage 1 and 2, for the most part, pretty calm. Still some good racing though that we saw, and I was happy with that. It was good racing, and it didn't really have any crashes. We don't need crashes to have good races here in NASCAR, but a lot of people do like to see those crashes. Now as we go though into that third and final stage here in the Daytona 500, it was actually an incredible third and final stage. I thought the racing was great, and once again it was kind of calm. Then we had some green flag pit stops. Obviously I was kind of surprised with how the strategy shook up. Probably 3/4 of the field, at least the Toyotas, the Fords, they all came in and they proceeded to take 2 tires. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had some issues late in that third stage with a speeding penalty or something. Oh, no, he did not get a speeding penalty. He went under the double yellow line, and made a pass. I think it was on Ryan Blaney, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. Either way, he went to look under the 12 of Ryan Blaney, I think it was, and the car got a little bit sideways, and then obviously Stenhouse went under the double yellow to try and, I guess, avoid him, but he definitely went down too far. I think he went down further than he needed to, and unfortunately that ended his day, or at least his chances. And then he served the penalty, came out, the green flag pit stops went on, and then Stenhouse drove straight to the back, or got driven straight into the back of by the 20 of Eric Jones as he was coming to the pit lane, turned him around. Green flag stayed out to my surprise. I thought they were going to bring out a caution, but I was happy they kept it green, and that pretty much ended Stenhouse's day in terms of chances of doing anything. And then the Hendrick cars, the Chevrolets, all took 2 tires, or 4 tires, while everyone else took 2 tires on those green flag pit stops. So that set them back in a whole line way behind the lead group. So at the time of that caution, I was really confused with why they decided to do that. I didn't think it was going to work at all, but to my surprise, that second pack of cars would run down that lead group of cars. And then when that second group of cars got to that lead group, it was winding down to the later stages of the 2020 Daytona 500 at that point, and they did not waste any time. It started getting a lot more racy at that point. It got really exciting, to say the least, in those final 20-25 laps or so. And unfortunately, obviously, Kyle Busch actually blew an engine a little bit late in the race there. Joey Logano was actually right on his back bumper when his engine started to let go, and then Logano kind of shoved him out of the way there. When that happened, Kyle Busch actually, there was a photo going around of him flipping off Joey Logano, so that was a nice little moment between them two, as they obviously love each other, as we know Kyle Busch and Joey Logano do. But after that happened, obviously the big one ended up striking. As they were like showing the replay of Kyle Busch's issues, the big one struck. Keselowski got turned by Eric Almirola, who was being pushed by Joey Logano, and they had so much steam, and obviously they just drove straight to the back of the 2 car and turned him around. Obviously there was not any intent on any of them to do that, but unfortunately that was exactly how it played out. That unfortunately took out a lot of cars. Alex Bowman involved. Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time champion in his final Daytona 500, got taken out in that, so that was really unfortunate. My favorite driver, Kyle Larson, wasn't even in the lead pack, so it actually worked out for him. He was able to not be a part of that crash and gain a lot of positions, but so many drivers got wiped out, Eric Almirola included, which my prediction video predicted Almirola to win. Obviously that was incorrect. But then obviously we got going. There was a few more incidents here and there that had cautions come out, and eventually it got forced into overtime. So I knew right then we went to overtime, it was going to get really good. And I think we had, what, 2 attempts at overtime? Or it was either 1 attempt and then there was like a 2-lap dash before then under regulation. But either way, Clint Boyer went spinning through the grass on a restart, bringing out another caution, which was then forced that overtime attempt. And that was certainly a weird moment. It reminded me a lot of the Clash when Clint Boyer went spinning. I guess he just lost some grip, unfortunately for him, and it didn't quite work out, as that certainly messed up his chances to win. We also had Ross Chastain get in an incident late in that race too, after a pretty aggressive move on his part, and it almost worked. It would have been really epic if it did work, but unfortunately for him, it did not work. So the drivers had gotten pretty aggressive at that point, and coming into overtime, Denny Hamlin was leading after actually pushing Newman out front with the little tandem draft that we used to see back in like 2010, 2011 a lot. And obviously Hamlin pulled out, made the move on Newman because of his temperatures being too high. got the lead, and then we went into that final restart, which was pretty wild in itself as well. Hamlin, he was able to hold off the pack coming to the white flag, and then obviously after that, he blocked Newman coming to the white, and he executed that block perfectly. And then down the back straightaway, Newman actually had backed up to Blaney in turns 2, and then Blaney and Newman hooked up, went down that back straightaway, and just hauled right on past the 11. Denny Hamlin had no chance to block that run without getting wrecked, so obviously he did the right thing and didn't even really seem like try to block that move. They went by. Hamlin gets in behind Blaney, and they would proceed to hook up in turns 3 and turns 4 as Newman had the lead, and he had a pretty decent gap between himself and Blaney and Hamlin, which worked perfectly for Blaney and Hamlin. They were able to hook up, gain so much speed, and they would run down Newman out of turns 4, where it looked like Blaney appeared to try and, I guess, quote-unquote, deke to the right, and then Newman, he was able to protect that perfectly. And then when Blaney juked back to the left, once again, Newman protected that bottom perfectly. It was a block, but he managed to just kind of perfectly block both moves against Ryan Blaney. And unfortunately, Blaney said himself at that point he was committed to push Newman to the win, and unfortunately, their bumpers just connected awkwardly, and Newman got hooked into the outside wall, and he hit it so hard, and obviously he went up and over. Corey LaJoie hit him in a terrible spot, and obviously, you know, the rest is history. Denny Hamlin barely beat Blaney at the line with, I think they said it was the closest, or one of the closest finishes in Daytona 500 history. So definitely, I think it was a good race. We had great action in the stages. We had the Daytona big one. We had a couple big crashes. We had a really close finish. And just things like that made it a really good race. If I gave it a rating between a 0 and a 5, I would give it a solid 4.3 is what I would go with, because there was definitely a little bit of stuff at times that was lacking the excitement here and there, but definitely a 4.3 out of 5 would be my kind of rating of the race. I definitely enjoyed it and would love to see this excitement continue, other than the fact of what happened, of course, at the end with Ryan Newman. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we're just going to hope for the best and hope for a speedy recovery, and hope that he will be back in the car soon. But before we end this video, and as you guys know, I now have a NASCAR fantasy league on NASCAR.com. There you see it right there. I'm thinking of maybe like the person that wins it all. I do like a giveaway or something for the person that wins it all and give them something. But here is the top 13, at least, from the first week of the Daytona 500. We actually came through to get P9. Gist of my fist, 2488 was actually the one who won. So it's certainly interesting to see how this will play out through the season. So we'll see what happens. There you see Moderator Snakebite, RJ in P5, as well as the other Moderator Jay. He was down in like 37th or something like that. But there you see the top 13. I think we got like 68 or 67 members there you see at the top of your screen. But if you guys enjoyed this and think maybe this is a series I should continue just kind of giving my opinions on the race, like I said, the final verdict to me, definitely a good race. A 4.3 out of 5 was my score. So we'll see if the series continues, and definitely let me know if you liked it and should continue it. So I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have yourselves a great day.